Okay, we've created our toolpaths for OP1 and we're on to creating the toolpaths for OP2. We have two 3/8 inch holes. They're actually going to be tapped 3/8 16 and then 1/2 inch hole that we're going to put a flat bottom on. So let's go ahead and create those toolpaths now. First off, let's create our new toolpath group for these toolpaths. We're going to do that by right-clicking on Groups, New Toolpath Group. Name this OP2. Notice our insert cursor ended up inside OP2, so our new toolpaths are going to land in the right location. Let's look down at our WCS is OP2, T-plane is OP2, C-plane is OP2. Did that by clicking on our view sheet here. Notice we click back and forth. There is our view sheet for OP2, sets our WCS how we'd like it. So now we're going to go ahead and spot drill these three holes right here. Start out with the drilling toolpath. Let's zoom in. Remember, we need to see the origin of the hole. Otherwise, we're going to end up clicking on the side of the hole. So there's our three holes that we're going to spot drill. Our tool, 3/4 inch spot drill right there. No stock set. Cut parameters, change it from tap to a drill counter bore. Linking parameters, let's go back to 1.0 for clearance. Retract 0.1, that's fine. Top of stock 0, that makes sense. For our depth, we're going to use a depth calculator. And it's going to be a 0.375 hole, so 3/8. And we're going to put a 50 thou chamfer on here. Plus 0.05. And it'll do the math for us. Sets our depth right there. Green checkbox, we're going to overwrite the depth. So there we get our depth for our 3/8 inch hole with a 50 thou chamfer right there. Tip comp, make sure that is off. Green checkbox, and we can see our toolpath right there. Now, one problem with this hole is bigger. We still want a chamfer this, but that spot drill is only going to go as deep as to put our chamfer on our two 3/8 inch holes. So we can fix this by clicking on the geometry for this tool path, and if we select 0.2, it selects the point here, that's the 1/2 inch hole right there. I can right click this and say change parameters at point. I'm going to change the depth for this hole. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to call that negative 0.27. Now, that's a 1/2 inch hole, and a little bit of trigonometry tells me that if I go down a 1/4 inch with a 90-degree chamfer tool, it's going to be 1/2 inch in diameter. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper, a negative 0.27, and that should put a 20 thou chamfer all the way around that hole. I could also change my clearance, my retract, my feed rate, all these, but for now, just an example of changing our depth to match our hole. Green checkbox, green checkbox. Let's rebuild that tool path. Let's go ahead and verify this and see how that looks. So you'll notice we have a much larger chamfer on our tapped holes here, but we expect that. Smaller one here, bigger one here, but it's changing it for each of the different tool paths. Let's close that. So now we're going to drill these two holes to depth prior to tapping them. There's a couple ways we could do that. I could create a new drill toolpath and only select these two holes, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy, paste, copy after, drag this down. I'm going to open up my geometry, select 0.2, and hit delete. So now I'm only doing these two outside holes. My tool is going to be my 5/16 drill, which is appropriate for 3/8 16 tap. So drill holes to depth. Let's peck this, 0.25 peck, so we can clear some chips on the way down. Linking parameters. Let's go ahead and just pick our depth so we can hit the depth button here. I can't see the bottom of that hole. So let's turn this down here on our status bar, turns translucency on. And now I can see the bottom of this hole, and I can pick it to depth. So it's going to go negative a little over 1 inch. We need to make sure we're going to account for the tip. So I'm going to turn tip comp on, and we're going to go a little bit deeper than here. So we're full diameter and give the tap room to go down here. We probably want to go as deep as we can, give the tap room to clear chips and the like, but we'll just go 0.1 past that. That should be that. Let's preview that toolpath. There we go. Can we zoom in and see if it's going deep enough? There we go. We can see it there, that we're going plenty deep. Okay. That looks good. Now we can copy this toolpath. Drag this down, hit our parameters. Now our tool is going to be a 3/8/16 tap. Our cut parameters need to be tap right there. Linking parameters, we can leave it to the same depth. Tip comp, it changes this up right here, so it recognizes our different tip angle. I'm going to change my breakthrough amount. I'm only going to go, say, 0.05, half of that. I just want to give my tap a little bit of clearance. I don't want to drive that tap to the exact bottom of the hole that my drill went to. If my tool length offset is a little bit off, that could get me into some trouble. So we'll do that. Preview the toolpath. Looks right. Okay, so we've got our 3/8/16 holes drilled and tapped. Let's do this 1/2 inch hole right here. So let's just pick a drill tool path. So again, let's turn translucency off. That's going to get me into trouble. Zoom in here. There we go. Green checkbox. Tool, we're going to pick a 1/2 inch drill. Cut parameters, let's change that to a peck. Linking parameters, everything looks good. Let's set our depth up here. Once again, we're going to go back to translucent so I can select the bottom of the hole. 0.055. We want to do tip comp here. We're going to do no breakthrough amount. So that is going to drive that 1/2 inch right to, so it goes full width right to the bottom of that hole. I take it back, actually. That is wrong. We are not going to use tip comp on this because we want to drill the point of the drill right to there and then follow it with the 1/2 inch end mill that comes right to there. So let's come back here and let's turn tip comp off. Rebuild that. Now we're going to take and copy this down. This. We're going to flatten the bottom of that hole, and we're going to do that with 1/2 inch end mill. Cut parameters, we're not going to peck this, no reason to. We're going to drill counter bore. And now we're going to dwell at the bottom of the hole for about 1/2 second. Just to make sure we get that nice and flat. We still have tip comp off, and our depth is going to go to the same depth, which is that hole. We rebuild that toolpath. Now let's look at this from the side here. Let's see if we're getting this right. We've modeled that with that hole actually being the tip of the drill. But I think what we actually want is a flat bottom hole, which is what we're trying to do here. So let's backplot just this one. There we go. So that goes to the bottom of the hole there. Now let's look at both of these. So what you can see is we've driven the tip of the drill to the bottom of that hole and then flattened it. So we have a flat bottom hole at 550 thou deep, which is what the tutorial wanted us to do. It's actually modeled as if the drill had gone deeper right here. So we probably could have run the drill with tip comp and gone deeper, but as an example of how to do a flat bottomed hole, this is a good example. Okay, so let's verify all of the toolpaths for this one. There we go. Looks like it worked.